What's your year of graduation and what'd you study?
1993.
Okay.
I majored in math and I minored in psychology.
Oh, very cool. Were you part of any campus organizations or extracurricular activities?
Yes, I played three college sports at Hamilton. I played volleyball, basketball, and softball.
Wow, that's impressive.
I it was a little crazy. I
Okay.
worked a couple jobs there.
Okay.
Worked for the math department, and I worked in the athletic department.
Okay.
And then I also was part of the GSA for a while as well.
DSA. Okay. Um, so were you out while you were at Hamilton?
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, not I mean, my first couple of years I was not really out, only to a few close friends.
Okay.
But then my junior year, I started going to some of the GSA meetings, and
Yeah.
started telling more and more people. And I had a pretty bad experience with one of my teams, my basketball team, where the coach actually benched me for a while when he found out that I was gay.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah, fortunately, yeah, my team actually was. I actually just gave as I said, a teacher. I actually just gave a talk last year
Yeah.
to the students about it as a positive thing and how important it is to stand up for each other.
Sure.
Because what happened is a number of the students from our Gay Straight Alliance decided to come and support me by coming to a game,
Yeah.
a home game, and at first the coach was all excited that we had all these fans, but then he
And then you
realized,
realized.
wait, who are these people? And then he turned to me after the game and he said, "These people are here for you, aren't they? You tell them not to come back." And I just looked at him like, I don't know what you're talking about, but and I was like, "Okay, coach, we'll see about that." And then the next game was an away game, and I was one of the co-captains for my last 2 years, and I was our leading scorer.
Yeah.
We were very good. We were ranked nationally.
Oh wow.
And so the next game comes, and I wasn't in the starting lineup, and everyone was like, "What the heck? She's our best player. Why isn't she in the game?" And I told one of the two players that were next to me what one of them already knew.
Yeah.
I had told her afterwards. She was one of my best friends. I had told her after the game before what had happened.
Yeah.
And the other one, I quickly told her it's because he knows I'm gay. She already knew I was gay, but I said it's because he now knows I'm gay.
Yeah.
And she was like, "What the hell?" So one of them said something, and then he benched her too.
Oh my God.
So then they start the game. I'm not in the game. It's not going very well. He calls a timeout, and so the players come over, and they're like, "You got to push Sheldon in. Put her in the game. What the hell?"
Yeah.
And he's like, and he looks at me, and he's like, "No." So the game continues. It's not going well. Then one of the players calls a timeout, and they're like, "That's it, Don. You either tell us why she's not playing, or you put her in." And so he's like, they're like, "Or we're not playing." He's like, "You tell us we're not playing."
Yeah.
And so they all sat down on the bench, and they're like, "We're not going in until you tell us what the hell's going on." He's like, "Fine, she can go in." But he pulls me aside, and he says, "You can go in, but you're not allowed to shoot." And I'm our leading scorer. So the first play of the game, I go back in. The first play I get back in, I steal the ball. I have a wide open layup.
Yeah.
I dribble down, and I stop right underneath the basket. I turn around, and I look at him. And he goes, "Jesus Christ, what the hell?" And I was like, "Oh, you told me I couldn't shoot." Like, I'm just looking at him.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
How did it end? Did he end up putting you back in?
So he he got mad, but he realized how stupid it was. So then he told me I was allowed to shoot, but only layups.
Only layups.
Only layups. Yeah. But really, it brought me closer to my team.
Sure.
It brought the team closer because we were all mad at him the whole season, and we had a really great season. And off the court, I got a lot more support because then everybody knew, not just my closest 3 or 4 friends on the team.
Okay.
And it really worked out in the end. But he was a complete jerk.
Yeah, God.
So
it must be before Title IX hadn't passed yet.
There was a lot of homophobia there.
Sure.
At the time, I'm sure there probably is, but I doubt it's like it was.
Right. So this is pre-Title IX, I'm guessing?
No, that was Title IX was in effect.
And he got away with
Yeah,
that?
and we used to practice up in the mud gym, like
Yeah.
up in the, I think it's called, not mud gym, what's it called?
Blood.
The gym where like the guys work out like for swimming and stuff, that old gym.
Yeah, I
We
think
would
I know what you're
practice
saying.
up there while the men's team practiced in the field house.
Okay.
I don't know where the women practice now, but we
Wow.
weren't allowed to practice in the nice gym.
That's
We had to
crazy.
practice
Yeah.
in the crappy gym.
I think they share them now, which is good.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, there's no, yeah, it was completely inequitable. We would have to drive ourselves to all our games, most of our games at least, in the vans.
Sure.
And then even for state tournament, then we would get a charter bus. But meanwhile, the men, they always took charter buses. And for a fancy game like that, who knows what they would get? They would get free
Yeah.
stuff. We didn't get any free stuff. Yeah,
Wow.
there was, yeah.
There's a lot of issues of gender too back
Mine existed. I did for an art project. I did a Title IX art project, and I
then. Okay.
compared the men and the women's games, and
Yeah.
people got really pissed at me.
Really? That's interesting.
I'm like, well, that's the facts.
Yeah, you're pointing it out. That's good. You're pushing the envelope.
You know, like, sorry, but that's the way it is here.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that and like making the culture better for people now. Like,
So, yeah,
so
yeah.
you're out now, I'm guessing, like to everybody.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
when I applied for schools, for jobs at schools, I just came out because I knew that, you know, especially after some of my experiences at school, at college, that I knew that I wasn't going to be dealing with that. Like, if they didn't want to hire me because of that, then I didn't want to work there.
Right. No, I
So,
respect that.
yeah, so yeah, I'm out, definitely out. And I'm lucky to be at a school where there's actually a lot of people that are out. Um, and it's not really a big thing. It was at first, you know, when I first started teaching in the 90s, but
Yeah.
now it's really not a big deal at all.
Right.
When I gave that talk last year, a lot of people came up to me and gave me hugs and like, oh, I'm so sorry it was like that for you. And, you
Oh, that's
know,
fantastic.
it was great.
That's really
Yeah.
great. Um,
Hmm.
so my next question is about the climate for LGBT students during your time
Hmm.
in Hamilton. I think I got kind of
Yeah.
a snapshot of that from what you talked about in the basketball court, but how is it socially with other students?
Yeah. It was hard. I mean, not very many people were out. The people that were out were kind of, I don't know. I kind of felt like they were ostracized.
Okay.
You know, you know, like now, like, again, I don't know what it's like there. I'm much older than all of you guys.
Sure.
But I know at my school, because you know, we have a GSA, we have kids that are out, and like it's a wide variety of kids that are out, and it's I don't know how to say it. Like it's not a big deal for the
Yeah.
most part. It's a
Right.
big deal for some kids because of, you know, their background. Maybe they're international students, or maybe their, you know, parents are particularly conservative. But for the most part, people are pretty accepting.
Mm-hmm.
But that I felt like we've almost flipped the percentages. So maybe now it's like, you know, 30% are not accepting, and I think then it was about 30% were.
Sure. Okay.
Um, so it feels like we've almost flipped between now and then. So there was, you know, you really were careful about who you told,
Yes.
for fear of what would happen, worried about your, you know, the repercussions from your losing friendships and losing, you know, what my coaches would say, what my professors would say, and how they would judge you.
Mm-hmm.
Here was another fun example. So I was with my advisor
Okay.
doing my courses, and we had this knowledge of others category you had to fill
Sure.
in order to graduate.
Yeah.
And so he says to me, he goes, well, you haven't completed your knowledge of others category. Why don't you take this course in the sociology department called psychosexual diversity, where you learn about gay people and transgender people.
Okay.
I
Oh,
was like, yeah, sure, I'll
okay.
take that course.
Yeah.
And I got credit for knowledge of others. I wasn't going to tell him I was gay, but, you
Yeah.
know, like, but he just assumed, you know, that would be other. And then I got credit for knowledge of others by taking it. It was like so bizarre to me.
Was the course
I don't
super
know.
not good? Like, was it very
Oh,
Freudian and just not
the
good?
course was actually very good. I thought it was
Really?
great.
Okay. All right. I was gonna say it was gonna be some weird like Freudian, like, oh, there's these
No,
disorders that lead to this or whatever. Like,
no, I thought it was very good.
okay.
We had panels. There weren't very many people in it. I think people were afraid to take it
Okay.
because I think they were afraid that, of the stigma of why would you sign up for a course like that.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
But it was like every week we would every couple of weeks we'd have a panel. So there was a panel of of people that were transgender who would come in and answer our questions. There were a panel of people that were, what you name it.
Yeah.
She had so many connections of people that would come in and talk to us about what it was like to be born with either both sets of organs or neither set of organs for one
Right.
particular gender.
Yeah.
And what was that like growing up? I mean, I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. Like I grew up on a farm in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
I was like, oh my God, that can happen.
Right.
That's incredibly
Yeah.
difficult,
Yeah. Yeah.
and yeah, gender is such a construct. Yes, yes,
Mhm.
it I thought it was great. Really made you think about some things I thought about.
Did they have like a
And
gender?
it normalized to me what it was to be gay. Like I said, I grew up very conservative family, and it really made me feel better about what I was dealing with.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I thought it was a great course,
I'm guessing there
but
wasn't.
there weren't that many people there.
Yeah. There wasn't a gender studies department then, I'm guessing.
No, I don't think so. Maybe there was, but I don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken a lot of, I took a couple of sociology classes, philosophy classes. I did try to spread myself out, but, I'm a math major. I took a lot of math.
Sure. Yeah. Understandable. It's a hard major.
And I was pretty busy with that. And there weren't a lot of women in the math majors.
Mm-hmm.
I was working pretty hard to make sure to show people that wasn't, that I wasn't inferior just because I was a woman and there were only like a couple of us.
Right. It's funny. I know so many female math majors now. So,
Yeah.
anything. Um, so you've given me a couple examples of personal hardships, which is my next question is what are personal hardships? If there are any other ones that stick out to you, I'd love to hear them, but I also think the basketball one's a good example. Um,
I'm sorry, I missed the last part.
oh, sorry. So my next question is about personal hardships, but I feel like we already talked about that with basketball. If there were any
Yeah.
other examples that stuck out, I'd love to hear them, but if not, I feel like we've covered that.
Um, well, I had a girlfriend while I was at Hamilton. We were together my junior and my senior year, and then we continued to be together for actually a while after that. But
Okay.
she got injured playing basketball, and
Mm-hmm.
while she was in coming out of surgery, her parents questioned her about her sexuality or sexual orientation,
Okay.
and when they found out she was gay, they kicked her out of her house.
Oh my
And
God.
then when they weren't going to let her come back to Hamilton, but then they realized that it would actually make them look worse if she didn't come back because people would ask why she wasn't coming back.
Yeah.
So when she came back, they pulled her out of the dorms and they rented a apartment for her off campus.
Why?
And they said it was because they didn't want her anywhere near. Well, we had a suite.
Yeah.
We shared a double in a suite, the two of us, along with a bunch of our other friends that played sports.
Yeah.
And so they pulled her out, and they didn't want her to live with me because they knew we were together.
Yeah.
So they pulled her out and got her an apartment off campus, and they just said that she needed it so she'd have, a space so she could go to her physical therapy and stuff for her surgery. But
Yeah.
it really was a different time.
Yeah. That's yeah.
Can you imagine, while she had just gotten out of surgery, they just threw all of her clothes out the door, and she had to go, and she called me, and we had to find a place for her to stay for a while, and then they finally changed their mind because then they realized it was too embarrassing to actually do that.
How did the apartment work out? Like, were you still able to see her?
Yeah, in fact, they didn't realize it actually made it easier.
Right. I'm thinking that sounds way nicer having an apartment.
It is way nicer, because we were still really worried about what some people would think.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Yeah.
so, we were nervous. We
Mhm.
were nervous all the time, being together, even though, we were, in a suite with people we that we liked and that we were friends with, that
Mhm.
somebody would still find out and, somebody would be upset. But then we just go to the apartment all the time. So it was
That's
kind of
fantastic.
nicer.
Yeah.
But
Oh my God.
yeah, but it was, it still was inconvenient. It would have been nice to just not have to go up and down the hill all the time.
Yeah.
And she had a car, but still.
So yeah,
But it just really was it really was just a different
yeah, it
time.
sounds like it. What do you
Yeah.
what do you think was the hardest part of being LGBT at Hamilton during that time?
Um, it just is always there. It's, we talk to our students all the time about, you know, realizing your privilege and realizing that there's so many people that have this invisible backpack. So,
Yes.
for our students of color, like, you have no idea, if you're not a person of color, what that backpack must feel like.
Yes.
And I know that their backpack is much heavier than my backpack.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I do. But I know for me, like, I just was always just, there were things that were just always just there that I was always thinking about. Because when the coach benched me, like, everyone was like asking me, like, oh my God, are you worried about the game? Are you worried about our national ranking? And I'm thinking, no, I'm worried that the next game, which is home, my parents are going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And if my parents are there and I'm not playing, and I'm a captain and I'm our leading scorer, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to know something serious is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And what am I going to tell them? And if they find out why I'm benched, I'm not only going to be benched, I'm going to get kicked out of my house, just
Yeah.
like my girlfriend got kicked out of her house a
Yeah.
few months ago.
Yeah.
And I really thought that was going to be it for me. I was going to get kicked out of my house.
God.
So I got bigger problems than worrying about this game right now.
Right. That's
Like,
so
all this is going through my head. Am I going to get kicked out of my house? Am I going to not be able to finish my college degree?
right.
So, like, I'm always was thinking, like, about so many different big things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was more than just getting caught, or more than just worrying about, like, little things. It's always just these big things weighing over you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just so much to be thinking about on top of a college career and homework and games and everything. So,
Yeah, like, now I feel like we give our students so much support that even if their parents did kick them out, I feel like they know who would support them.
yes.
Like, there's so many of us, that have our triangles on our door and, vocally supporting them all the time. And we
Mm-hmm.
have a really large GSA and an affinity group. And, and there it wasn't the case. Like, I could only tell you maybe one faculty member, two faculty members that I knew were safe spaces, but I didn't know them very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't have, we didn't really know who to go to.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like it was a different time.
Yeah. What do you think was like the best part of being LGBT at Hamilton? Like, were there any highlights that you could think of?
Um, well, I guess it's in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's good and bad. I mean, we could, if we wanted to go out, like, you had to go somewhere farther away. So
Okay.
you weren't going to run into anybody who was from Hamilton.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's good and bad that it was in the middle of nowhere. So, we went to, we would go out to Syracuse, or we would go to, and so we weren't going to run into people from Hamilton if we wanted to go out usually.
Mm-hmm.
So that was good and bad.
Okay.
And it was a small enough community that, again, that's good and bad. There was good and bad about it being small.
Mm-hmm.
If people know you, they're generally going to obviously feel, better about supporting you.
Right.
So, like, with the basketball situation, some of those people, if they had found out that the person sitting next to them in class were gay, they probably would have been like, oh, I don't know. But they knew me, and
Right.
so they were going to stand by me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the advantage of having a small community, is that you get to know people, and, you're going to support somebody. You realize that, oh, who cares? Who cares if they're gay? Who cares if they're from, wherever? Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're all just people. So.
Okay. And you told me you were part of GSA while you were at Hamilton. Were there any other kinds of activism you were involved in while you were on campus?
Not. I mean, occasionally I would go to, like, they would occasionally have something over at the chapel.
Yeah.
But I did occasionally, but, with the 3 sports, I was traveling a lot, and I wasn't even always on campus on the weekends because of games and stuff.
Okay.
And a lot of that would be happening. But occasionally I would go to something, but not too often.
Okay.
Now I'm going to everything. I just went to that great in Boston, the anti-white supremacist rally. There were
Yeah.
40,000 of us. That was incredible.
That's awesome.
So now, and I happened to be on sabbatical the year that Massachusetts passed the gay marriage. So I
Awesome,
happened to
yeah.
be able to go every day for that and
Okay.
hold my signs and chant.
Oh,
So now I get to be pretty actively involved, which is nice.
sure. So not much activism off campus also. There's 2 questions, like an on campus one and an off campus.
No, off campus. No, there was
Okay.
almost nothing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't remember much happening then, honestly.
Really? I mean, there's not too much locally that's not, because like you said, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not like you're next to Boston.
Yeah. 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 That's where it's part of why I'm here now.
Mm-hmm. So I have some questions that are kind of just general about being LGBT, and if some of them kind of tie back to things we've already talked about. So if they do tie back, you can just say, oh, the example of the basketball or the example of this. You don't have to like
Sure.
again. So what impact did coming out or being LGBT have in your work life?
In my work life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I just knew that after what had happened in Hamilton, I was going to be very open and when I found a job.
Sure. Okay.
I wasn't going to go backwards.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. How about your family life?
Well, my family, my brothers are great, but my parents are not very supportive. They've gotten better over time, but they're not very good. I mean, I grew up, like I said, in the middle of nowhere. They're very religious, very conservative.
Okay.
So, yeah, Trump's best friends with our sheriff. So yeah, it's not a great environment there, but I still just sort of try to stand by who I am, even if it means losing, some people. The people that I care about keeping have kept me, and my parents have gotten better over time.
Mm-hmm. It sounds really challenging. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I mean, I live now in Boston, and at my job, there's, I don't know, maybe there's like 10 people that are out here.
Great.
So I've got a great community here, and you find your way. You find you go to where you need to go. That's what I've done.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was the impact like on your social life?
Well, I got a lot of LGBTQ friends. I've got lots of straight friends too, but I certainly make sure that I have support.
Mm-hmm.
And people that know what it's like, and people who've gone through similar things and can understand what that means and have my back.
Yeah.
And like I said, I work at my school's an all girls private school.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a really great community here. So it's just really nice to know that I have the support. The principal at my school is a lesbian. So, my boss, so it's just nice to know that I'm at a place where it's just not going to be an issue.
Sure.
And, I just have a lot of friends that are like that. We certainly go to, I just this past weekend was in Provincetown for the end of Women's Week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm lucky enough to have Provincetown not too far away, like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
So we go there at least a few times a year where, it's as accepting a place, I think, as anywhere on the planet.
Sure.
So it's nice to have places like that nearby. And we make sure we go there a few times a year. We saw a lesbian short film festival while we were there.
Okay.
So, I try to do things socially as well. Book readings, movies, dancing, whatever the case may be.
Okay. And has being LGBT had much impact on your spiritual life?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up, I was raised Baptist, but as soon as I got out of that house, I don't go back.
Yeah.
So the Unitarian Universalists, they are a welcoming congregation.
Mhm.
They make it very clear with their rainbow flags out in front that that's important to them.
Yeah.
And now my partner's church, they also are a welcoming congregation.
Okay.
I don't know the exact name of it, but the kind of Judaism that they are welcome all people. And there were lots of gay couples at the services I've been to. So yeah, it definitely has changed like what kind of, I won't go back to any kind of a church or religious organization that's not going to accept me.
Right, and not going to like welcome you moreover.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing the LGBT community today?
President Trump.
Yep, I feel that. I definitely feel that.
Well, the pendulum is always going to swing. I mean,
Yeah,
it's always going to swing. I mean, there's going to be backlash. People, you move in one direction and then people get upset and it's going to be backlash against and it's going to come back. So,
yeah.
right now, there's people who are upset about all of the really great progress that we made
Hmm.
over the last 8 years, right? We did so many great things. We got gay marriage and military change and, all these great protections. And so people are upset. So they're trying to push it back the other direction.
Yeah.
You know that in another few years, we're going to get a Democratic president and it's going to get
Yes.
pushed back again.
Yes.
So that's how the world works. So I am worried right now. Yeah, we don't have a great situation with who's at the top, and so
Yeah.
we're going to lose some ground. And as somebody who works in a school, we've had more conflict in the last year and a half than we had in years with they're seeing role modeling that it's okay to treat people with disrespect,
Conflict's
and that's part of why conflict is okay. It's okay to say nasty things to each other, and we've had to do a lot of work here to say that's not okay. It's part of why, like, I did the story, we did all these storytelling.
Mhm.
We feel like if a lot of us share our stories, we can start to see each other more as people and individuals and understand better, how to treat each other. So, we got a ways to go, but yeah, I'm really worried about what messages we're sending when the person that's supposed to be our leader and our role model is doing stuff like that.
Mhm. Is the conflict that you've been seeing in your school over the last year, is it like conflict related to LGBT issues, or is it just a general conflict?
It's both. I mean, we've seen kids that are just are not speaking well to each other, that are making comments that are more willing to say things that are racist, that are homophobic, that are anti-Semitic. They're just willing to say things that I don't think they would have said before.
Yeah.
It's like all of a sudden they're willing to say things. We had a kid who on social media put on blackface.
Seriously?
And yeah, and she claimed she didn't understand that it was wrong.
How old is this
She
kid?
claimed she didn't. She's in high school. She was a 9th grader, but no, she was 10th grader. 10th grader.
Oh my God.
I didn't know the kid very well, but said she didn't know it was wrong. But I find that kind of hard to believe.
Yeah.
So and that blew up. I mean, then a lot of people were pretty upset, and I don't blame them. And it just caused a lot of problems. And we've never had anybody do anything like that before. We do a lot of education here around diversity, equity, inclusion work. So when that happened, there was a lot of kids upset because they felt like part of it was she felt like she could do stuff like that now.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, we just got a little like comments to kids, like somebody come in, like I heard somebody, say dyke. They don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Like they just things like that.
Yeah.
So we seem to be in a better place this school year than we were last school year. After we spent a lot of time. We canceled classes for a day and just spent the whole day just talking and doing workshops and things. So, we did that a couple times and we've done more this year. So I think we're in a better place now.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well, I'm glad you guys are addressing it. it sounds like you're being very proactive about trying to, undo some of the damage that's been done.
We are. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
All right.
It was awesome
Well,
talking
good luck.
to you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right. Bye.